Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Dwarven Realms. My name is Hosha, and today I'm bringing you a beginner/starter guide for new players to the current Season 8 or version 1.0.19 for Dwarven Realms. The goal of this video is to introduce and familiarize new players to the world of Dwarven Realms, basics of game navigation, travel, and zone progression, leveling to gain your skills and stat points, bosses, the loot they can drop, and skill tree and what direction you may want to pick for your current playstyle. Once we get to the end of the main story maps, we will touch bases on what the end game looks like at this time for this current build. So, to get started, this is the main menu. You can see the previous top three from the previous season, along with the current timer for this season. This one's going to be 3 weeks long. We are 4 days into it. If you wish to view it from the main menu, you can click ladder, and you can see who is where and a kind of rundown of the skill acquisition process that other players have done. You can see here a bunch of people went a certain direction on the skill tree, and we'll get into that later. A little note here, between seasons, all data will be wiped. They are currently working on a character save in between seasons, but that is something on the list to be done later. For now, at every season, characters are erased for new progression. You can see the settings here. There's some basic checkboxes for QOL things, floating text for damage and experience, camera shake, which I very much personally prefer to have it off. There's a minimap for the story modes for the endgame maps. They are not currently there. They're working on fixing that for lag purposes. Marks and structural stability. There is in-game building, and you can see the health of them. And again, we will touch base on that later. We can get into the graphical settings for your screen size, etc. This is all personal preference. Audio settings, there are some minor glitches. I have, for the purpose of this, turned all of my sound off. Input settings, you can re-keybind everything, and you can come through here, scroll through, figure out what it is you want. There may be some things that don't have a keybind, so you may want to check this out the first time. One of the things I'll touch base on a little bit later is the town portal, and personal preference, I rebound it from regular B to shift B. So that way I don't accidentally push the home button because at this time it is not cancelable. So, right now, there's a single character selection option. Also, they are working on allowing you to have more characters than one, but that is also on the list to be done at a later time. When you create your first character, I'm not going to do it right now because I don't want to erase what I currently have. You'll be given 5 stat points at the very beginning. Currently, energy is a very sought after resource, so I recommend putting it into endurance, the first 5 points. And as you level, you put some more in there. At this point, all of my stats are going into strength, but everybody is able to put points in where they wish at whatever rate they want. Every single one of them has different attributes, and you can see these in game along with in here. We're just going to go ahead and hop in. We'll be loading into the home fort, and I will be covering all of this later. There's a lot of stuff to cover in here, and there's a lot of really good things. More and more things keep getting added, but for the time being, I'm going to travel back to the very start of the area. Now, what I'm using here is the world portal. You will not have access to this at the start of the game. So right off, obviously WASD to move, M key to open the map. You'll see in the bottom here, you got M, K, and J. So, as I said, M is your map. The red arrow is you. You have K, which is the skill tree. We will dig more into this later. This has evolved as of Season 7. This is all new, and there's more to come on this, along with the J key, which is now the stance tree. And this has also evolved even more, along with the crafting stuff. For now, and actually, no, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to get out of the way. We see here on the map, obviously, again, the red dot is you. When you start off, you will be up in this spot. You'll be in a cave with a sword. You approach it, pick it up, and it automatically equips into your number 1 slot. And as you proceed, you will come across things that you can either loot a container, or you can approach things that are on tools or weapons that are on the ground, and they will automatically be slotted into your hotbar. This is to introduce you to the different weapon types, the different tools, and the functions they serve. You can see I've got a chest here. I didn't open any of the starter chests. which is actually got a 3 of any particular set of equipment. And it also requires a key from the zone. So this particular zone will drop a skeleton or bone key. And those bone keys will be needed to open up these chests when you go into the next zone through. So there's a dungeon in between each zone. I'll get in more into that later. Once you get through the dungeon and into the next zone, it then requires a different set of keys. But again, you come across a mill here and a pickaxe and another tool along with some mining nodes, lumber mill, crafting station, all these things that will help you experience what it is to actually, you know what? That brings me to the other thing is these purple dots are actually teleport points. I'm just going to teleport over to here. Here we are. We are now in this spot. So, as you can see, there's a big purple beam for the purple chest that I have not opened. You got the furnace that introduces you to ore smelting and tool creation. The mortar, which is used to turn one material into another. We'll expand on that again at the home fort. And then this is not what you will see initially. You will only see, as you open the chest, you will see the rope equipment, which is associated with this first zone. I do not have a key, so I cannot unlock this. If I had a bone key, I could open it and acquire some gear. As you're coming through, it is helpful to acquire that. I'm actually going to turn on my floating numbers, because that will help me show you as you run across things. So this right here, this set of flowers is actually a collectible, and when I run across it, I gain experience for all the pickup items, which brings me to what you can gain experience from. You can gain from picking up loot, beating monsters. I got 135 from that. So these monsters currently give me 135 experience. You also gain experience from crafting equipment, and also over here we have mining nodes. I'm going to go ahead and get these guys out of my way so they don't bother me while I'm trying to show you this. So one of my skills allows me to destroy mining nodes. You can use a pickaxe or you can use one of your weapon abilities. For my particular weapon, it is the R skill. Is that. As I pick these things up, normally it's supposed to give you experience. But as you can see in the bottom right, I'm obtaining loot. So I'm going to walk over these. We got zombie legs, bones, and coins from all of those items. Those automatically deposit into your inventory. You can see a quick rundown as to whether or not the item is, in general, better or worse for your character. As you progress through the zones, the stats and rolls on each of these will be different. And one of the things to note, and very helpful for progression, is the white line. The white line for all but one or two of the maps is going to point you to your next destination. I'm going to come back up here. I'm going to show you one of the first bosses you will come across in this starter zone. So what I just did is I pulled up a mount. And in your skill tree, your mount is your third option. You have to be level 4, I believe it is. 2, 3, 4. Yes, you have to be level 4 to be able to acquire it for the first time. Actually, before we move on to the first boss, we're going to touch base on this town. So again, this is the world portal. This will not be available to you until you first reach, actually, the last town in the last story map. Then you will be able to fast travel, and this will appear in all of the hometowns for each zone. You will be introduced to traders who will sell you materials and some weapons. So if you wish to take your chance and try and get a better weapon, there we have it, which brings us into quality of items. There is gray, blue, a yellow or white, depending on how you see it, purple, which is what I'm wearing, and then orange items. Actually, the purple items are the highest quality. The orange are an intermediary between the yellow and the purple, but they can still compete with the purples. So keep your eye out for those. Now, I have all these pieces of equipment. I don't need them. So up here is the disenchant button. You see it right here. There is no current selection for quality, so I cannot pick all gray or all gray and blue or all blue or whatever. It automatically disenchants gray, blue, and yellow items. The purple and orange are left alone. So I'm going to disenchant those, and I got some materials associated with this zone. Now, the zombie leg, I currently can't use it. It's a vendorable item, so I'm going to sell it to him, and I gained 546 coins. Coins can be used again for purchasing other things, which you can buy experience items. We're going to leave those alone for now. They're frankly not worth buying. The metal flint and dwarven stone in the end game are currently worth buying. You can, of course, buy materials later on for other resources that you may need to craft. You will come across lootable containers, which I've already looted everything here. There'd be a barrel, a weapon rack, and another barrel, and then like a vase right here. So you will see those when you first arrive. And one of the other things that is very helpful early on is the research table. So I have 3 tomes, 2 scrolls, and 4 books. So if I use these and research them, I gained 9,675 experience. Now I have a experience buff from this skill right here. This is at level 600 crafting. I obtained this. It gives me 50% more. So as you are coming through here, you will not gain quite as much experience. So let's head on to the very first boss you will come across, which will be over here. There's also this quest giver here. If you so wish to talk to them, you can also choose to join. You get a nice little animation, and I believe they give you some experience as well. Keep your eye out for lootables. This will give you dwarven stones, which you will need for later. You don't have to collect everything there is. This is one of the first few ambushes you will come across. There are monsters that will just spawn as you approach to a certain range. While on the other hand, normally monsters will spawn as you get close enough to spawn them in general. They'll kind of meander around to the spawning point, but here is a boss. You can tell he's a boss. 1, he's bigger. 2, he's got a much different health bar. As you defeat bosses, you have a chance of obtaining special gear. Not every kill will get you a piece of special gear. This one got me a piece of blue gear. Uh, Bosses have a chance to give you purple gear, so keep your eye out for that, and you can farm them. If you so wish to, you can wait around for them to respawn, or simply, reload a checkpoint if you wish, and come back, and they will be there again. I'm going to head on to the next zone, actually. First dungeon. There is a dungeon in between every single zone. You have to go through these to progress the story. Anyways. This is the Forge of Terror. And again, I have already been through here, so I've already collected all the things. There are, of course, a vast number of monsters, but there are also, in these corners, in these spaces here, piles of experience books. There's approximately 200 of each experience item, the tome, scroll, and book, throughout this entire thing. They are all one-time collectibles. There are also these containers here that you can collect. They will have resources and sometimes equipment. Some of them will be good, some of them will not. And they will also get some coins. Let's see if we can find a good piece of gear. Got an experience item from that one. You can, of course, just button mash, because as you see, you push E, it takes everything, just tosses it in your inventory, and you can move on. Quick and easy. Doesn't look like we're going to get much good equipment from this one, but that's okay. There's lots of things to loot, and a lot of extra things to go through, so it's not a problem. At the end, we'll have a boss here. He's guarding a chest. We'll go ahead and take him out. I'm doing a lot more damage than you will be doing at this point. That's not a problem. And once you get to the end, you come across another scholar's desk, so you can take all of your experience items, turn them in, and move on. You will definitely want to explore. There's other corners and cracks, and there's even some stuff up there for you to obtain. So one of the things you very, very much want to do while going through all of these zones, especially for the first time, is explore. Take your time, look around, collect the chest, and here we have something that's the first occurrence here is a bracer recipe that you will find on the ground. So I spawned up here. You can see the white line again, leads you along. This is the first, actually the only spot where the path will split. You can either go north to the Sacred Thicket or south to the Mirth Passage. Now I'll show you on the map what those end up looking like. So you'll come across this zone, and again, you can see the big purple beams where all the chests are. Makes it super easy to find them. However, that brings us again to this bracer. There is no purple beam. You want to keep an eye on the map for the indicators as to where these things are. Now, I know it's north of us. There just so happens to be a boss guarding the bracers. There's an ambush, pulls the boss in towards us. The bracers, I think, are actually in that box. They may have updated the location of these bracers. I'm going to go ahead and pick up all the loot there is. Normally, it is a scroll sitting on the ground here, but I think... No, it's not. There it is. Here we have our first crafting blueprint. You open it up, it's the Timberwolf bracers. 10 wolf pelt, 10 wolf tooth. We can unlock that, and we can go look at that in one of the crafting tables you were first introduced. And oh, look, we got some more free experience items. Which now brings me to one of the other skills. The first one you actually have to unlock is the home beacon, which is that B skill I told you about earlier. So I hit Shift and B, and it will teleport me to the home or the zone's town, if you will. So this one has, again, it's got some crafting stations. You can take a look at them, do what you want with what you have available. I wouldn't worry too much about it. And again, so you'll have lootable components, and this one introduces a potion. Oh, look, actually, we got a Mordoth helm, which is a purple piece of gear from this zone, from that boss that was guarding the blueprint. If I want more pieces, I can go back and I can farm that boss, and I can get more or different pieces to try and get some better rolls. So this is a first instance of a potion that you will come across. You will get some smaller ones. Here we are. The lesser healing, along with the lesser regeneration, and these all level up as you proceed and go through the story mode. The last story mode one is the super healing potion, 250 health, and then a 30% health and 60% energy regen for 15 seconds. The highest one of which being 1,000 health and 70% health per second for 5 seconds. This is the one that I currently use in my 3 slot, and you can shuffle weapons and consumables and such around. So as you saw, I just did the disenchant and it left the purple gear because it is higher than anything else. I'm going to hold on to that purple piece of gear, but I'm going to go ahead and vendor the rest of these because I don't need them. So I'm going to hold on to this for later. We're definitely going to want to keep our purple gear. Do not sell it. Now, the leather working bench right here is something you will be introduced to, and we just picked up the timber bracers. It takes 10 wolf pelt and 10 wolf tooth. We just sold all of ours, so I can't make one right now. But I do have enough to make one of these, so you can craft it. And I got a yellow. There we have. Let's see if I can get some different colors here. I'm just going to tell it to craft all of them. There we go. There's an orange. There's a blue. Okay. Thank you. So, you can see there was the gray, the non-color, blue, yellow, orange, and purple. Again, orange and purple will not be deconstructed when you hit the disenchant button. We will both break both of these down when we get back to the home fort. So, that split that we saw on the road, where you start out here, this was the forge, and each dungeon gives you a recommended level. You are able to go all the way to the very end at level 1, should you so choose to do so. But here, we're in this second spot here. We were at the start of the first one, went through the first dungeon, now we're here, and we see a split for the Mirth Haven, Mirth Camp. I can fast travel to this place, and we can progress through. We'll go through the next dungeon. Actually, was just not listed. It used to travel straight to the next zone, but they added the dungeon, but they haven't quite updated the map yet. And that will lead us to the tundra. I want to show you what each of those looks like, so I will be going through them. So, let's go ahead and head to one of the next zones. I'm not going to show you both of them. I'm going to show you one of the directions, and you may choose whichever direction you so to pick. This game is very much open world, and pick your own path. Speaking of pick your own path, we really should take a look at that skill tree, shouldn't we? Because that is a very, very intricate skill tree compared to what they've had previously. So I started off and I decided to go this direction. I picked the shortest possible path that I could to this skill right here. You have Starblades, Blood Dragon, Arcane Grandmaster, Arcane Apocalypse, Fiery Totems, Delusion of Zelkors, Electric Dragons, Burning Shield, Fire Beam, and Dragon Flame. Each of these are kind of considered the ultimate skill, if you will. They are the hardest skill to achieve in any one direction. In the process of attaining this skill, I acquired Burning Core, Vortex, and Ferocity of Wolves. Those were all kind of along the way to get the other skill I wanted. I did divulge a couple of times to get a couple of things like Exploding Deathblade here, and I went down just a little bit more for some more inventory space. There are scattered throughout this inventory expansion spots like here, there's one here, 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 and here, along with another one down here. So that brings us to a total of 60 inventory slots expansion from here, and there are other locations to acquire some. Now, you can always pick whichever direction you wish to go. You want to go down this direction, you want to go up this direction, you want to go all the way around, and then you want to go up, and then you go one direction up here. It is entirely up to you which way you want to go and what skill you want to prioritize. You will want to take a look at what each one of them does. So this one pertains to rolling, and that is very much a spear stance skill. This one pertains to when you defeat an enemy, and the aspect or element to it also affects. Because in the middle here is lightning insurgents, fire insurgents, and arcane insurgents, and each of them gives an aura that boosts 200% arcane, electric, or fire damage. So you can very much build a elemental based skill tree if you wish. For example, you have electric dragons here, and then lightning insurgents. Then you have spark and chain lightning and eye of the storm. So based on the element of the skill, you could very much want to, come across here, grab this, maybe come back across, grab that, and then I don't know. If you don't want rain of fire, you could always just go around, come back down, and get your chain lightning. If you want to be pure to one element over the other. But this is very much a pick your path skill tree, and it is very versatile and very cool. One of the things is that this is still in work, is still being balanced. Some of the skill damages have changed. For example, last season, this was a 10% chance with a 500% damage. Well, on the other hand, this one was a 10% chance with a 500% damage. It's now 550. So they are changing the proc chances and the weapon damage percentage as well. So this will be a fluctuation. Now this is actually the very interesting mechanism. They introduced this again last season, which was only weak, and it's based off of use. So spears, mauls, two hand, one hand, and archery are all level 0 because I haven't touched any of those at all this season. I have done a lot of crafting, and I've done all my fighting with a wand or a mageries weapon, which again you can see by hovering over it. It's a magery weapon. So this is all leveled by use. So at certain levels, and unfortunately, I don't know what level these unlock. They don't show that. I only know that the very last skill here on every single one of the trees is level 1000. And I know simply because I had to grind out to this, that this is level 600 to get to this skill. But we have Volley and Arcane Explosion, which are two active, usable skills. So you have to use the weapon in order to gain the levels to gain your skills. It's experience based, which I think is a really good aspect. Let's go ahead and head back to what we were doing. The Sacred Thickets where you came from. So we're coming through. And again, you got the white line. This one kind of runs all over the place, showing you the roads. But it inevitably heads to the Path of the Dead. We have another hometown here. And this is the one that has the portal in it. I'm not going to head that direction. You can see up here, you got a bracer and a chest or in the distance, along with over here. But I'm not going to collect those. You may, on your first playthrough, go ahead and collect those. I'm going to head into the other dungeon that, unfortunately, and this is an ambush that spawns as you teleport in. Very cleverly there to catch the unawares as myself. Get you off your mount as you try to get on it. So, we got the Forge of Tundra. This is pretty much... Oh, right. That reminds me. There are some places that do not have maps. All of the dungeons in between the zone area maps do not have a openable map. You will come across quite a number of bosses in the area. First group of enemies there, second group of enemies here. There's another boss. And again, you can farm these for gear. If you're struggling a little bit, you may want to spend some time, farm the monsters, farm the bosses, get some better gear, level yourself up, and move on at an easier pace. I just happen to be on a mount that is not easily visible by the enemies. It is not an intended feature. There's actually supposed to be a spider boss. There they are. There's the spider boss. I'm sorry if anybody has arachnophobia. These are the most spider-like creatures they have. They only have 6 instead of 8 legs, 6 eyes instead of 8. And this is one of the very few places that spiders will be present. You just want to avert your gaze while you come through here. You'll be just fine. This is pretty much just a straight shot all the way through. We're just going to keep on going. There is, of course, collectibles all the way around the edge. All these little glowing stones, collectibles, mining nodes, experience items, piles of gold, all kinds of stuff. Now there is, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 bosses. So there's 2, 3, 4. I think it might just be 4. There are 4 bosses just in this space alone that you can, again, farm for experience and or loot. And the exit to the zone is right here. So if you come in, come through, beat them all, get the loot, come back through here, load in, or load out of the zone, go back through, load back into it, and you can farm them more. But we are now in the tundra on the map. I'm going to go ahead and head to the little home fort of this area. So we are here in this space. Again, you will have vendors, lootable containers, crafting tables, etc., etc. And actually, this is the first time you'll see this. And we will touch base on this more in the home fort. Again, the world travel portal will not be available until you reach the end space. Now, this is the first dungeon, which is the mines, and I very, very much recommend that you explore it. You will have your first instance of the Gem Anvil, and if you have explored enough and defeated enough monsters and bosses, along the way you should have more than enough resources to get what you need. Now, I'm going to head on over here. We're just going to take a couple seconds to get there. And again, I could have actually just opened the portal, gone here, and headed straight up. You can see just how big these worlds are. As you explore, you will find bosses. There is this boss here. Same rule applies. They have epic gear that is higher level based on this zone. I'm going to go ahead and just circumvent that entire bridge. And this is Catacombs. So, there are bosses throughout the place. I'm just going to kind of point you in a couple directions here. This direction is actually the end. Leave that way. This direction leads you to some more bosses. And there's the big boss of this zone up there, along with your first jewel crafting recipe and your first introduction to your relic and necklace. So I recommend you go up there. Definitely defeat these bosses. They will give you good stuff. I have to unfortunately dismount to get past this door. And over in that direction will be your gem anvil. Go take a look. And there's again going to be lootable containers all over the place. I've already looted a lot of it, but keep your eye open. Get that loot. Loot goblin noises. So, this now brings us into the Harmonian map. And again, you got your little white line leading you to the next zone. I'm going to head to the town in this zone. So, as usual, you got vendors, you got crafting tables, and your gem anvil will now be available in the towns from here on, as it has been introduced to you in the previous dungeon. With the scholar's desk, you'll have lots of stuff to turn in. My recommendation is if you can hold on, if you really don't need the levels, I would suggest you hold on to your experience items, because this will just outright consume everything you have, but you can do something about these tablets and turn them into scrolls to increase your experience gain, if you care to, if you will, min-max a little bit, just to try and improve your rate of leveling. So down here, keep in mind about this icon for later. We'll see that again. But for now, I'm gonna go ahead and we're just gonna skip all this and head down to this portal here. This is the first instance of requiring the player to interact with water. There's little guard bosses here, over there, and over there. Should you choose to approach this from a different angle, there's a guard at each one of these double pillars. I'm going to go ahead and jump into the water. You are automatically dismounted, and you're shown if you hold control, you can dive. There is loot at the bottom of this lake. There's experience stuff, there's gold, there's bones, there's containers to collect, stones, all kinds of stuff. But what you're looking for is this spot right here. This will lead us into the mines of the ancient Mysidian. Now, this place introduces you, well, sorry, it doesn't introduce, it starts going a little heavy on the free gems. You can see this little thing right here, run over it, and I get some gems from it. You will have come across those before, but this place has been turned into a very nice transitional dungeon. From Harmonian to Firelands, it was rather difficult, so the developers tossed a lot of gems. So be sure to explore the little offshoots. There's a couple bosses over there. There's some loot in there. There will be a lot of stuff in here. There'll actually be a chest in here that will have some really good gems in it. Again, I have already collected all the good stuff in here, so unfortunately I can't show you look like. But a lot of the gems will look like what these are right here. These are not collectible, but they will look somewhat similar to those. And again, there will be more lootable stuff over here. There's another boss. There's a chest to get here with a equipment piece in it and some other collectibles. There will also be a chest here along with another item that will be right about here. Make sure you keep your eye out for that and any others like it. It will have really good gems inside of it. And you'll have all sorts of gems all throughout this place. So make sure you explore. Exploring is very, very important to getting all the good loot. Now, we are in Firelands. So you can see where our character is right here. Now, this is different than the other stuff because there's no white line up here. You spawned up here, but there's no white line. Because there's just the white line right here. And I'll show you what this is in a little bit. Now, again, you have all of the purple portals to go around. I've already gotten a lot of the loot. Is the developers put in more loot as well again in this zone as they had previously. So make sure you check out this place up here. You can see the purple chest. I was facing it as we spawned in. Come check out the Lich Hall down here, and you come into the Cave of the Ancestors. There is really good stuff in there. There's actually some more stuff down here. It's not marked with anything in particular, but make sure you go there. So we're just going to go ahead and proceed on to what we need to get into the next zone. Again, we see this little blue thing. It is new as of last zone. We will again touch base on that later. So you can see here, there's kind of this path right here. It's kind of where the white line on the map shows and follows. Yeah, pretty much right along there. There's another boss over there with another collectible pattern. In here, you see the purple chest there, and you see a bunch of enemies all over the place. There's a boss kind of guarding that chest down there. Usually is. But all the way over here, and I'm not going to try and jump in the lava, so I'm going to take a slightly safer path to get down there. This will be the normal direction you head to get to this next zone. Again, there will be loot and experience items and all sorts of stuff everywhere in here. Now this leads us to the Sky Temple. If you wish to fight in here, this is the first time it introduces you to the Sky Archers, or one of the more notorious ranged monsters in this game. Over there are the Sky Lords. They are casters, and these are archers. I'm going to go ahead, just quickly run through. You got your first boss in here. There will be all kinds of gems all over the place. So again, make sure you explore. You have another boss over there. You can do a little jumping puzzle. Find yourself some more loot. Boss here, and a boss here. I'm going to jump across. This mountain jumps really high. Just be aware not to jump too far sometimes, depending upon your mount. One of the things that they changed for this one is instead of a chest, they will have a bookcase right here with a about 300 to 800 ranged variable option of experience books. So the highest experience item will be in here, and again, it'll range anywhere from 300 to 800, depending upon your luck. Now we move on to the last zone in the story maps that is on the map. So you spawn in up here, and this one just doesn't have any white lines. You'll have a boss here, here, and over here. You'll also have a boss here, 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 over here, and up here. I recommend you go to the top of the mountain up here. You go to this one over here. You find the elemental here, and you go to the top of the hill in this zone here, along with running through these rocks in here. Again, there are lots of gems and a few chests to collect for some extra loot. We're just going to head to the home fort, little town in this map. Now, as you approach Again, you'll see the standard crafting tables and loot containers and scholar's desk. Make sure you go inside the house and loot what's in there. But you'll notice for the first time on your first playthrough this stuff, and as you walk through this gateway, you will end up hearing a loud ding, because you will have found your mapstone table and your rupture portal. These work differently than this. However, I would like to point out that you should not get distracted by this, as there is something again. So we have gone through the Sky Temple. We're now in this area. But there's a little secret that's not on the map. And you'll kind of be hinted at it if you look around, because there'll be a big pile of gems right here. And there'll be a chest over here. Oh, my turtle's too big to fit there. So if you just keep going, it's a secret teleport. You will want to make sure you explore this. Oh, they got a new screenshot for that. This place is new, again, as of last season. So it's Kingdom of Eleanor. There will be gems and experience books and all kinds of stuff throughout this place. There will also be jewel crafting recipes if you have not collected some while you explored. So again, there are bosses, there are gems, there's just all kinds of good loot. There's little secret hidden places to explore up in there. So take your time, explore, collect, check out this tower. You can climb all the way up to this top section up here. You can climb all the way up there. So I highly recommend you explore and just enjoy this map, because one of the things I haven't actually touched on is how good some of these maps look, especially this one. This one is so vibrant and colorful, and it really just looks amazing. Take your time and explore. So that is, for the most part, the entirety of the story maps and how to progress through them, what to expect when you go through them, etc. Now, this brings us back to the home fort that we saw earlier. I've got some things in here that you won't want on your first try, or first appearance here. That being these research tables. And this is what I was mentioning earlier with these tablets. I'm currently turning all of my tablets into scrolls, as each of them has a different value for experience. Tablets as a base value will give you 100, scrolls will give you 250, and books will give you 500. Once you've got the experience boost, the tablets will give you 225, the scrolls will give you 750, and the books will give you 1875 each. So if you can hold on to your experience items, you can turn one tablet into one scroll, or 3 tablets into one book, which is actually, you lose experience by doing this rather than going this way. This is a work in progress. This has been a low priority, so I'm assuming at some point they will redo this. Maybe it will be 2 tablets per one scroll, as there is 3 tablets per one book. But for now, I take my tablets. You can have a slider bar all the way up to 100 on this. If you don't wish to do that, you can just do craft all. There we go. All 25 of my tablets are now being turned into scrolls. Now, as for everything that is currently pre-existing when you load in, I'm just going to kind of go around. First thing we come across is the disenchant table, which is why we hold on, disenchant what I have of extras, we hold on to our purple and orange items. So I can right click and they will be put in here, or if I wish, like let's say I have 15 purples and 10 oranges, I don't want to right click all of them, I can just click to add all of that color. So all the oranges and all the purples will be taken from your inventory into here. So do be careful that you don't have any of the gear that you want to equip in here when you click these buttons, or make sure you remove it before you hit disenchant, which gets us these 2 crafting materials, the legendary glowing stone and the flawless residue diamond, which you use for crafting over there, and I will show you that later. This is the gem anvil, which is what you will come across in that one dungeon I mentioned. And again, the fossil is something you very much need to have, as it is the only thing that will receive any of these gems that you acquire, these normal ones, these stance ones, or the large stat ones, which are basically these ones just in larger form, which are right here. So instead of a damage gem stone that gives you 0.5, this gives you 51. The large ones are very, very much worth collecting. This advanced gem anvil allows you to convert your gems in order. So you can acquire spear gems at the cost of 2 magery gems. You can acquire 1 maul at the cost of 2 spear, one hand at the cost of 2 mauls, 1 two-hand at the cost of 2 one-hand, 1 archery at the cost of 2 two-handed, and 1 magery at the cost of 2 archery. So it's a full circle. It costs 2 of the previous to acquire 1 of the next. I believe they are working on a alternative system for this to make it, because as it is, I had last season I was playing archery and I had magery stones. I had 170 of these, and they got turned into 5 of these, going all the way through the process. So, but currently that is how it is. And again, you have your large gems here, which require either metal flint or dwarven stone, which are collected over here. I recommend sticking to the large damage and large stamina stones. Early on, you'll want to do the damage stones, as that will help you increase your damage and just make it faster and easier for you to get through the enemies. Once you start getting into ruptures and start trying to push higher and higher, you'll want to focus more on the large stamina stones and maybe some armor stones, because you do have damage reduction from armor up to a certain point. Unfortunately, we do not have a visual for what that looks like at this time. We can see our armor, and it's just the base armor. It does not tell us what damage reduction percentage it gives us. I think it was 40,000, 20 or 40,000, kind of gets you at the hard cap. And there's not much point in going past that, but I don't have all the numbers and the math. One of the other things that was actually introduced in this season is these. And these are stones you get in one of the new maps, which again I will show you in just a moment. So you can convert these, again in a circle, 2 lightning for 1 arcane, 2 arcane for 1 fire, 2 fire for 1 lightning. Big old circle. So if you want to focus on lightning damage, you can take your arcane and fire and turn them into lightning. Each one gives you 3% bonus to lightning based damage, which is a very cool thing. So again, we've got the home or the world portal. We've got our map crafting table, which you saw previously. So this is the keys you will use to access the ruptures, which will be the primary focus of grinding out levels and materials and all that stuff, which we will not be getting into because that is end game stuff. So each one of these requires a different resource. So the Desolated requires 2,000 of the Arcavian crystals. Harmonian requires 2,000 of the Harmonian orbs. Mysidian takes the Mysidian essence. Kabarian takes the fragments. And the Mirth takes bones, while the Hinterlands takes fire shards. These are resources that are collected here, almost in order. The bones should actually be on the bottom based on where the Mirth is at. But all of these are acquired by zone as you progress. So the very first zone will give you bones and fire shards, and as you progress further and further, you will acquire each resource as you go along. If you don't have enough of any of these to make your first stone or first key, I recommend going back to whatever zone you have the most materials of. So let's say, for example, you have, let's say, 1,800 of this one. This is from the Tundra, I believe. So you can come back to the Tundra, or it's Firelands, one or the other. So you can go in there, check it out, see what resource you're getting. If it's not what you need, go to the next map. If you have 2,000 of each, don't worry. The resources and gear you acquire the gear you acquire from the ruptures will break down into all of this stuff. If you have a weapon, you'll get more of the ore and wood associated with whatever map you're in, but you will still obtain all of the resources. You'll get more of these as you go through. So if you spend 20 minutes in there grinding out monsters, breaking down the loot, you'll gain enough resources to make more of all of the maps. So don't worry if you don't have enough to make one of every one of them, you will get your resources. So don't worry too much about that. Now brings us to these last four down here. So this one here, the Underground and Enclave, is the new map for this season. It requires one imbued Dwarven rune. I have one of those. Again, it's an end game, so we will not be seeing that today. But you will definitely want to check it out and explore it at your pace. The key to the Ancient Catacombs requires 40 of each of your primary rupture keys. So grind those out and get in there. Catacombs is very, very helpful for you to level. It is scaled at level 100 Rupture, but don't worry, it's just slime, so nothing's going to fight you. The Underground Enclave is scaled at level 35. You have to have completed a level 30 Rupture to get into it. And oh right, so remember that symbol we were looking at in that one map? This looks a lot like it because that's where it's at. So rumored the ancient kings are buried somewhere beneath the frozen ice in the Harmonian Mountains. That's a key clue on the key as to where you need to go. So once you acquire this, go back to Harmonian Mountains, go down to where that key is at, and you can get into the catacombs. You can collect all kinds of stuff that'll give you a nice boost. This is very helpful and very important, and you will actually get one or two of these imbued dwarven runes from the catacombs. You can then go back in and get more power. Next is the key to the bridge, the demigods, and the Harmonian Olympus. These are actually in opposite order. The Olympus map will actually be what you acquire and get into before the bridge of the demigods. I will show you in a moment what skill it is, but once you get to rupture level 200 or higher, oh, there it is right there. Obtain in ruptures above level 200. So once you get to rupture level 200 and you defeat a boss, you will get one scroll based on the map you were in. So Hinterlands, if I go into one of those, I will get a... Which one is it? They're not quite named the right thing. I think it's this one. So Tundra Scroll would be from the Harmonian, whichever. So you'll have to run 8 of every single one of these at level 200 or higher to get enough scrolls, along with one of the imbued dwarven rooms, to get the key to the bridge. The bridge, I believe, requires a minimum completion of rupture level 320, which I believe the Olympus map requires a minimum of 150 or 200. Don't quote me on that one, I don't remember. But if you make one of these keys and you attempt to put it into the portal, which happens to be this one. So, for example, this is one of the new ones. So if I put this in here, I can now activate. I'm not going to do it this time, but this is where you will put your special keys in this Archon's Gate, because this one will only accept the Rupture maps. So as you make these, or you acquire these, that's based on that in a minute, you will put them in there. Now, one of the new things for this season is the Ancient Rune Anvil. So as you're running through the ruptures, and let's say you find a favorite one you like, and you've acquired a lot of one map. Let's say, for example, I have 48 of this one. Well, I've only got 23 of this. Well, I've got almost 20 more of this one than I need. It's just going to get in my way because I can't use them. Well, I can come over here, and I can turn, let's do 5 of them. I can turn 5 of these into 100 Dwarven Runes. There we have it, 500 Dwarven Runes. And then once I have 8,000 of them, which we just happen to have, I can make another Imbued Dwarven Rune, which comes in here. And then I can come across here, and I can make myself an underground key, which will take 3 seconds. And there we have it. And then I can come across here, pop it in. Again, we will not be doing that as that is end game. So that's maps, keys, and portals. You have your scholar's desk here. I prefer to create 10 of these and kind of put them in a semicircle near my scholar's desk. You can put them wherever you wish. We have the jewel crafting table, which you will have had access to in the other story maps. As you progress through, you will acquire rings and amulets from the different zones, and they will all cost different amounts. As you get to the end game stuff, you will unlock things like this, the stance-specific jewelry. So you got Ranger, Sogist, Erudite, Templar, Berserker, Duelist. You will also have normal. So you see Orb of Forgotten Templar, Mythical Orb of Forgotten Templar. So the mythical versions are more powerful. This takes 310 of the purple gems. Well, this one does not. Purple gems are in theory the most difficult resource from disenchanting to obtain. The orange ones are a little bit easier to get. As it is, I actually need to make one of these, but I will do that in a little bit because I don't have a erudite necklace for my set, but I will do that later. In here, you have bracers again. So erudite is for mage, Templar is for mauls, which speaking of, so spears is the Sojuist set. Let's see if I can find there we are. So feet of the, I know Sojuist is not the proper way to say it. That's just how I say it. So Sojuist is for the spear. Then we have the Templar for mauls and staves. And the Berserker. Where is it? No, it's Berserker. So Berserker is for the two-handed. One hand is the Duelist. It will just show me, there we go, Dueler or Duelist. Archery and Magery are just that, archery and Magery. And then crafting does not have anything in particular, but here you have 10 inventory slots, 10 inventory slots, increased pickup range, gems from mining nodes, able to craft and acquire orange pieces from enemies. And then this one, so once you reach rupture level 250 or higher, and you mine break down a mining node, and you also have one of these, which the ambassador keys can be bought from a vendor in the house inside of one of the ruptures for 150 of one of. So each one of these is tradable for a ambassador key at the value of 150 of each. So that is what this is. So you need rupture level 250, you need an ambassador's key, and you need a mining node. And that will open up the path to the Elven Capital, which is very, very helpful for giving your character a nice little boost. This guy right here, if you wish to leave a review for Steam, you can interact with him. I'm not going to because closing the window is kind of a pain. You can interact with him, click the button, and you can go to Steam. This right here is the transformation throne. So if we have a piece of gear, let's take this because I'm going to replace this here in a moment. So I'm going to take this off. And again, so we see here, it's got a green arrow. It's an indicator. Hey, this is generally speaking an improvement. Obviously, I have nothing there, so it's going to be outright. So we've got some Carnage of Fire damage at the top. At the bottom, we've got some Burning Core damage. We've got some armor value, damage value, maul, critical damage, critical chance, just outright maul damage. Unfortunately, I'm not using maul, so this necklace really doesn't help me. But the towards the top, the critical chance and critical damage, along with the luck, the damage, and the armor, all help me. The mauls don't. The maul stats don't help me, but the rest of it does. But I'm going to go ahead, and I'm going to toss this in here. For 250 of this resource, I can transform it and re-roll. Now we have Eye of the Storm damage at the top and Carnage of the Fire chance at the bottom. So those have changed. Along with, so the maul's damage was 40%, now it's 22. So this piece allows you to re-roll the stats on your gear. The purple gear, and that's where you need to be careful. The purple gear has set stats. The values for those stats will change. But so critical chance down to the Carnage of Fire, those um, those stats will stay. So critical chance, critical damage, luck, energy regen, maul, critical damage, maul, critical chance, damage, and armor, and then the weapon, or sorry, skill, chance. So whatever skill re-rolls, chance, and then all the numbers on the right will re-roll. So the Eye of the Storm damage at the top has a chance to fall off, but if you re-roll again, you have a chance of getting another skill up there. So be careful on what you re-roll. You may end up not getting what you want. So my suggestion would be to have a second of an item. Let's take, for example, this ring right here. I have 40% majory damage. That's pretty good percentage. But I also have Electric Dragon's Chance. I'm not using that, so I can't use it. And I don't have a top skill like this one does. This one has Lightning Strike damage at the top, but it also has Starblade Chance at the bottom. Lightning Strike I don't use, Starblades I do. So half of it's good, half of it's bad, but I also only have 30.6% majory damage, and that could definitely be up over 40%. So if I wanted to try and replace one of these, I would create another one to sit here and re-roll and re-roll until I get it better than one of these, until I'm happy with it. So that is what this is for, and it is very helpful and very, very nice. This was added, I believe, season before last. Once again, we come to the Sands of Time tool. Now this is intended for if you happen to choose the wrong path, or let's say again you were focused on lightning and now you want to go arcane. You want to switch it up to arcane instead of lightning. You can come here and by purchasing a Tome of Eternal Knowledge from one of the vendors over there, and I'll show you in a moment, you can put it in here and you can reset all of your skill points and your stat points that you have allocated up to this point. Your stance will not change until the new season, so you will not lose any progress in anything you have acquired here. Let's go take a look at one of those vendors. I kind of touched base on the mining nodes, but all the trees are destructible as well. The farm animals are interactable. I'm gonna pick this up and I'm gonna show you that a minute. But we come across here to the trader, and at the very bottom of one of them, not both of them, but one of them, is the Ancient Tome of Eternal Knowledge. This price will escalate or increase as you purchase it. I do not have a need for this, so I'm not going to buy one right now. So just keep in mind you can't do it infinitely for that cost. It will progressively increase. The original cost for this was 200,000 coins. They reduced it down to 10,000 for last season, and then 5,000 with a incrementing price upon each purchase for the season. And again, you can purchase resources here. If you happen to be short on any of these, you can again go back to the zone that they came from and actually purchase that direct material from the vendor of that zone. So keep that in mind. This guy has slightly different stuff, which if you find yourself in need of glass, in order to make the research tables that I have built over there, because glass is intended to be craftable, but it currently is not. But one of these vendors does, in fact, sell it. So you won't be short on that. Which, again, brings me to the first table here. This workbench is different than the other workbench you've been using. It may look the same, but it's different. Because this is a base workbench. So you have furnace, millstone, research table, compost bin, fridge, dummy, pressure barrel, alcohol cauldron, simple chest, storage chest, with a key, all kinds of stuff. Doors, mannequins, which you can actually take armor equipment pieces. So if you, let's say you're running one-handed weapons and you want to swap up to two-hand, you've got a handful of pieces of two-hand, you can take all of your one-hand pieces and toss it on a mannequin and display your gear, which is a really cool feature. It's gone through a few tweaks here and there. There was some minor glitches where it wouldn't stand properly, or the relic would be kind of in a weird spot, and stuff like that. The mallet is used in conjunction with the building plans if you wish to build a base. And again, I will show you that in a little bit. So you can get a shovel to dig up sand and clay over there. All kinds of paints and decorative items, tables, chairs, stools, carpets, flower pots, shelves. They have all kinds of decorative items here. We have this alchemy table, which currently does not have much use. It has things implemented in it that are not implemented anywhere else. Unfortunately, that is not something they have gotten to at this point. You can smelt ingots. Now, if you were using the furnaces as you progress through each zone, you will notice that they really only had one option. Like in that first zone, all we could do was this iron ingot and then these two picks. But as we progress, we could have done copper and then frozen ingot, obsidian, and electronium. Now, in the home base, we have access to all of them. And as you progress through the ruptures and whatnot, I mean, I've got 28,000 of this one, and I got 22,000 of this one. It will take hours to smelt them at 2-to-1 rate. So they did 20,000 to 10,000 rate. They increased it by 10,000, making it incredibly fast to smelt it all instead of sitting here waiting for it to craft or smelt for days at a time. Very nice QOL update there. Now you've also got the base wood into the plank form for each of these as you progress on. If you wish to build a base or a fort at this time, do not upgrade your wood to planks. You will need this raw wood to build your fort. Now we come across the workbench that you've been using throughout the zones. And again, as you progress through the zones, you will unlock different recipe types along with different resource costs for each one. I've acquired things in really random orders, so unfortunately this doesn't help. Like I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different story map recipes before I got my first rupture recipe. Reeves of the Mark. So just is something you acquire. Anything that costs these legendary glowing stones or the where is it? Here. These flawless residue diamonds. Anything that costs those is obtained from a rupture or a special chest or a new map. So keep your eye out for special chest and shadow beasts while you're in ruptures. Again, I acquired another story map one further on. There has been a request that they separate these from these, the story map recipes from the endgame recipes. That is something they're working, but it's not a huge priority at the moment. The mortar, you can break down or upgrade all of your base materials into needed materials. So grass gets turned into cloth. Fiber gets turned into cloth. Blue Delphiniums into shredded. Desert Rose into shredded, etc., etc. So if you've acquired a bunch of this as you progress through the stories and the ruptures, you can upgrade it into what you need for more ambassador keys. And then we have the alchemy cauldron down here. You can actually turn. So bones are the only thing you can craft from base materials. Everything else takes a prior resource to make the next. So bones into fire crystals, shards into Arcavian crystals, Arcavian into Harmonian, Harmonian into Mysidian, Mysidian into Kabarian, and then that is the end of the line. I do not recommend doing that unless if you absolutely need just a little bit more of the next one at the cost of the previous. Again, if you really need it, I suggest you go back to a zone, farm it, or go into a rupture and farm it. So now, this brings us on to base building. So you have a couple of foundation pieces here that everything must be built off of. There is not a whole lot of physics in this. So you can put a foundation, and you can see in the center here, it shows you the cost of that particular piece. So most of it is 4s, a couple of 2s, a 3, 6. The roofs require some leaves. If you don't have these, you can also buy them from the vendor. The foundations are 8 or 4. I'm gonna stick with this. They have a little bit of popping. The popping's a little finicky sometimes, but it's not too bad. I'm gonna go for some door here. Let's put a door over here, and then I'm gonna come over with a ceiling. So I have one wall on there, so it'll go. But if I try and go here, it doesn't have the structural support, so it won't stay up. So keep that in mind while attempting to build your house. Now, one thing interesting about this building mechanic is there's some things that there just aren't any restrictions on. So you can literally just, as long as you have the resources for it, just keep going. I'm not going to go any further, but you can get the gist. I have literally built a few thousand of these walls straight up, and I have not been able to be stopped yet. One thing to note is fall damage, maximum of 10% at this time. That is from any height. You can receive less fall damage if you fall from shorter heights, but if you fall from anything over max heights for 10% damage, you will only ever receive 10% damage. So we have covered at this point the menus, the hotkeys, the purple portals, mounting, where to get it on the skill tree, the white lines for zone progression, the one zone to help you get ready for ruptures, which was that last place. Leveling through picking up items, crafting gears, and killing monsters, along with the tomes, scrolls, and books. How to upgrade those. Getting epic loot from bosses. Also to note, they do give you more experience than standard monsters. So, for example, once you get high enough in ruptures, you will actually want to just farm bosses instead of the monsters. Stances for each weapon type, the leveling progression through experience, and the skill tree where it is a pick a path. In the home fort, you got your gear breakdown, your map portals for the world portal, the rupture portals, and then all the new maps here. You got your base building and your crafting stations for gear and other such items. Just actually quick touch. The mallet is actually used for upgrading, rotating, and breaking down your buildings. So if you wish to remove something, or if you put a wall in the wrong direction, you can rotate it. Or if you want to upgrade it to stone, which will cost resources, you can do that. That is currently what you saw on the wheel. Here is currently the extent of the base building. This is something in works. So don't be too harsh on that. Something else. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and pop out to the main menu here. Alrighty. So, some of the things that they're planning on doing, or there's been hearsay of things they're working on, is a possible randomization of the skill tree, whether it's required points per tree, damage values per tree, or position on the skill tree. That may be something they're working on. It might be something implemented from season to season, so you have to adapt every season to which direction you want to go. One of the things that they're going to be doing for sure is every season, excuse me, since they came out with the mage and archer, is every 3 week season they're going to take one class and they're going to rework it. So two hand, mauls, spears, and one hand. I don't know if they're going to rework archery and magery at this time. They may not, but the other four primary melee classes are going to be reworked every season, so keep an eye out for that. The base building and everything in there, again, is going to be expanded. It's kind of on the back burner. They really want to smooth out the player experience before they work on um, reworking the home fort building aspect. Multiplayer, it is coming. They want to do it. They intend on doing it. It's not a huge priority right now. Again, they want to smooth out their experience, get rid of the bugs. They've got some instances where characters are being deleted on accident somehow. So they really want to focus on fixing those before they get to multiplayer, but it is coming. Um, the developers will implement things mid-season. Um, they've done it before, and I'm sure they will continue to do it. Where you're in a 2 or 3 week season, and a week in, you got something new at the home fort. There's a big update patch came through, something new showed up. So keep your eye out for updates. If there is a hotfix or a game breaking bug that they have to push out to keep players from losing stuff or to keep players from exploiting the game, they will push out a required update. So if you're in the middle of playing and you die, you go through a loading screen, you exit out to the main menu or something, it'll pop up a menu saying, "Hey, you're outdated, please update," and it'll kick you out of the game. And it will require you to install the update. That is for their protection and the players, so please be patient and go ahead and do those. If you have suggestions or questions or just want to hang out with the community or the devs, again, this is just a team of two. Crater Studios, so Crater Man and El Bebo, they're a pair of brothers. They work together really great. This is actually not their first game. There's more games out there. So down here you can see Creator Studios. There's a link to the Discord here, along with somewhere else in the game. If you want to come hang out with them, say hi, BS. There's other people who ask questions. There's all kinds of threads. There's suggestions. There are bug reports. There's also streaming, people who stream. So if you want to find other communities, their Discord's a great resource to do that. So that wraps up the starter/beginner's guide and a little bit of future touch for Dwarven Realms in its current 0.19 patch or season 8. If you have questions, again, come to the Discord, hang out. One of the developers actually streams, usually on patch days or patch weekends. You can check him out, watch him do some deving and some game development and stuff like that. It's super cool and super fun. Come check us out. Their link will be in the description below for the Discord as well, along with a link to my other sources. So if you want to come hang out with me, you can do that as well. Until then, hope all of you have a wonderful afternoon, evening, morning, whatever it is, wherever you are. I'll see you later.